What?
What?
Dude, you don't pour grease down the drain, man. It's common sense.
You're supposed to do that.
No.
Why?
Good. Because it gets all plugged up and stuff, man. Like the grease. What do you mean you didn't know? It's common sense. Like the grease gets built up in the pipes and like gets combined with hair and stuff and all that.
How do we get it out?
Well, you have to go like wherever the main drain pipe is with a snake and pull the stuff out. My dad used to do it all the time. That's how I know that it's like that when I was a kid. All right, let's talk about this. Common sense. Years ago, I was watching this PBS show called Globe Trekker. This guy goes around to different places having a great time and lets us come along and be a part. On this one episode, he was at some island and the islanders were offering him this delicacy of theirs. You want to know what that was? It was seal poop. Seal poop. And that's when I began to wonder about common sense. And I pretty much concluded it doesn't exist. So let's talk about that, common sense. Let's talk about common sense, especially as it's used in the clip that you just saw. That sort of thing right there. Is common sense real? Does it actually exist? What kind of a definition? What are we even talking about when we say that kind of thing, common sense? What kind of a definition can we get? Is there one in the dictionary? Or how about if we draw a definition from its most common usage? I think we could define it as being able to see outcomes, being able to see certain effects from causes. Knowing something that is apparent common knowledge. So what's being said here? What is the mood? Besides the words, what is the message that's being communicated? I think something like, everyone can see this, and whoever can't see this is stupid. I have a question. Why go there? Could it be pride? Could it be inconvenience? Now let me point something out. Okay? Let's call the common sense guy, this is common sense. Let's call that guy the plaintiff. And let's call the other guy the defendant. Just for our purposes right now. I want to point out that the plaintiff doesn't see some things either. He's overlooking quite a few things actually. Like our worldview. Our worldview is based largely on experience. And what about experience? Well, I get new experience, really. It's processed and seen in the light of past experiences. And what about intuition? Somebody thinks they're pretty imaginative and they can kind of come to these things on their own. Well, I don't think it really works that way either. I think intuition uses experience to build. And each person has a different set of experiences. And there's some more things that the plaintiff fails to see, like the difference between intelligence and experience. The way they say it, it's pretty condescending. like I said, it's in a sense, it's like saying you're stupid if you don't see this. I see this, so you must lack intelligence if you don't see it. Well, experience and intelligence are quite different. Okay, I can look around and see what I have to work with and kind of improvise or find ways to do things. But that really is no substitute for something like 25 years of experience. And if somebody with 25 years of experience looks at somebody who makes a mistake, like he's stupid because he didn't see this, what's really going on there? You know, here's another question. Who really has the problem here? The plaintiff, who is failing to realize many things, has lost his peace. The defendant doesn't even know. So here are some things to consider. We don't all have the same experience. We don't all think the same way. And as a matter of fact, if you really if you're generally accepting of the MBTI, you'll think, well, there's kind of 16 ways. I would go even further than that. I'll talk about that in a later video, but it is much more intricate than that. So we don't all have the same experience. We don't all think the same way, and our brains are not all configured the same way. When I was younger, I was into math. I still am. It's a thing that I get into for fun sometimes, and then I get bored and do other things for a while. But at this one time in my life, I was into math. And then a lot of things happened between that time and the next time I did math. And it was almost as if I could perceive that the connections required to do that stuff were gone. And it was equally as if I had to reestablish the connection. It's hard to explain now, but at the time, I analyzed how I had thought before, and I analyzed how I was beginning to think then, and I realized it was a lot like I was not just reestablishing the connection, but creating an entirely different path, and it was a much better, more higher quality path. The kind of stuff where you begin to see why things work the way they do, and you can have little fun math games. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because if that happened in my life, okay, it's easy to see that not everyone's brains are configured the right way. It's amazing that we're so cohesive. It's amazing that we think as much alike as we do. I read somewhere that the wiring of the brain is probably more diverse, by far, more unique by far, than the human fingerprint. Probably infinitely more. So what about common sense? Well, we know it can't be defined culturally because some cultures think it's okay to eat seal poop. I have a book on critical thinking. And in this book, recently, I did read the only definition of common sense I would accept. And that is things like, things don't vanish into thin air. And people don't walk on water, and if I jump off a cliff, I'm gonna get hurt or die because I cannot fly. Well, this watch did not make itself. That right there is real common sense. Something anybody at any time and in any culture would be able to realize. So, some interesting things to think about. If you're a plaintiff, if you're one of those people who says that all the time, stop it. Lighten up. Have some understanding. Go easy on people. You know, put forth the effort to be a teacher. I know if you're seeing this, okay, realize what we have here is just possibly ignorance. You can tell if somebody's being malicious, and if it's ignorance, and you can see ignorance, and you know the answer, put forth the effort to formulate the thoughts into a lesson, and not an embarrassing lesson. Well, there you have it. So to sum it all up, common sense in its most commonly used sense doesn't exist. Until next time.